I'd been begging my coworker to let me borrow his motorboat for months, and when he finally said yes, I was over the moon. There's nothing like the open sea at night. The way the waves glitter under the moon, the cool air cutting through your jacket, the sense that you're untouchable. I planned a solo run along the coast, about a 20-minute drive from my place to the marina. I checked the weather. Clear, light winds, packed a cooler with water and snacks, and brought a heavy-duty flashlight, just in case. I launched around 11 p.m., the boat's engine growling as I steered into the dark, the shore lights fading behind me. I was maybe 2 miles out, the water smooth as pavement, when I pushed the throttle, letting the boat surge forward. The wind stung my face, and I was grinning, feeling like I owned the night. Then I noticed something odd, a ripple trailing my wake, too clean, too circular, like a drop in a still pond. I slowed down, the boat settling into a gentle bob, and the ripple stopped, a perfect ring about 15 feet back. I squinted, thinking it was a fish or a buoy's wake, but the sea was quiet. No bubbles, no movement. Unease settled in my chest. I leaned over the side, shining my flashlight into the water, its beams slicing through the black. Something glinted below, maybe a plastic bag or a piece of trash, but it shifted, drifting against the current. Then the boat jolted, a heavy thud vibrating through the hull, like I'd hit a log. I grabbed the wheel, my pulse spiking, and scanned the surface. Nothing but that ripple, now splintering into smaller waves, lapping at the boat's sides. A sour smell hit me, rotten seaweed, maybe oil, sharp enough to make my throat burn. I turned the key to restart the engine, but it coughed and died, the propeller whining like it was stuck. Another thud, this time from the port side, rocked the boat, and I stumbled, catching myself on the console. I'd read about derelict fishing nets or debris fouling props, and my mind raced to that. Could explain the jolt, the engine trouble. I grabbed a boat hook, leaning over to probe the water, and felt something heavy, tangled, resisting my pull. My hands were sweaty, slipping on the pole. I managed to haul up a clump of slimy rope, knotted with seaweed, and what looked like old netting, the stench overwhelming. The boat rocked again, the net tugging downward, like it was snagged on something deeper. I fumbled for a knife in the tackle box, hacking at the mess, my breath ragged. The engine sputtered when I tried it next, but it caught, roaring to life. I didn't hesitate. I slammed the throttle and aimed for the marina, the boat bouncing over the waves, my heart in my throat. The thuds faded as I neared the dock, the smell lingering in my nose. When I tied up, I checked the hull. Scratches crisscrossed the bottom, smeared with a greasy residue, like algae but stickier. I told my coworker I'd hit a reef, but he wasn't convinced, especially when he saw the damage. The mechanic who cleaned it said it was definitely a net, probably abandoned years ago, drifting with the currents. He'd seen it before, he said, but I couldn't shake the way it felt alive, pulling back against me. I still take the boat out, but I stick to daylight and check the prop obsessively. I keep replaying that night, the ripple, the thuds, the way the net seemed to fight me. I tell myself it was just bad luck, but when I'm near the water, I scan for that perfect circle, half expecting it to follow me again. When your boat betrays you, the sea feels like it's turning against you, every wave a warning. But sometimes, it's not the equipment. It's the people you cross paths with that leave you rattled. I'd been rowing on the river at night for years, a habit carved into my bones like the grooves in the old wooden oars. It was my ritual. After a long day, I'd trudge down to the rickety dock behind my cabin, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and pine. I'd hang my lantern on the bow, a sturdy, brass thing that flickered like a heartbeat, and push off into the dark, the river's gentle current cradling me like an old friend. The rhythmic dip of the oars, the faint gurgle of water, the distant hoot of an owl. It was my escape, my way of unraveling the knots in my mind. But that night, something was wrong. The air hung heavy, too still, as if the world had paused mid-breath. Even the crickets, usually a constant hum, had fallen silent, leaving a void that pressed against my ears. I shoved off anyway, chalking it up to nerves. The river stretched out before me, a mirror of black glass reflecting a scattering of stars, so clear it was disorienting, like I was rowing through the cosmos itself. My lantern's glow painted a warm circle around the boat, a fragile bubble of light in the endless dark. I'd always loved that glow, its steadiness a comfort, but tonight it felt weak, as if the shadows were leaning in, testing its edges. Half an hour downstream, my eyes caught a glint, a faint, yellow shimmer dancing on the water ahead. Another boat, I thought, maybe a fisherman working late. But as I rowed closer, the shape didn't add up. There was no boat, no outline of a person, just a lantern, identical to mine, hovering above the surface. My gut twisted. I stopped rowing, letting the current nudge me forward, my breath shallow. The light bobbed gently, unnaturally steady, like it was pinned there by some invisible thread. Every fiber of me screamed to turn back, to flee to the safety of the dock. But my hands stayed on the oars, driven by a dumb, stubborn need to understand. When I got close enough, I extended an oar, expecting to nudge something solid. A buoy, a snag, but it sliced through empty air. The lantern didn't waver. A cold sweat prickled my skin, and then I heard it, a low, rhythmic humming, like voices submerged deep underwater, rising in a slow, mournful chant. The lantern drifted toward me, deliberate and slow, as if it knew I was there. I swung the oar again, harder, but it passed through like mist. The humming grew, vibrating through my ribs, and in the light's eerie glow, I saw them, figures standing on the water, their forms faint and shimmering, like ghosts woven from fog. Their bodies were tall and thin, their faces smudged into nothingness except for eyes, sharp, glinting eyes that pierced through me, cold and unyielding. Panic clawed at my chest. I yanked at the oars, trying to spin the boat around, but the current surged, tugging me closer to them. The figures didn't move, yet their presence pressed down, heavy and suffocating. The humming sharpened into whispers, "Stay, join us," soft and insistent, curling into my ears like smoke. My hands shook as I rowed, water splashing over the sides, soaking my jeans. The shore was a faint smudge in the distance, mocking me with its unreachable safety. In a wild, desperate move, I snatched my lantern from its hook, the metal hot against my palm, and hurled it into the river. The light snuffed out, plunging me into blackness. The humming cut off, leaving a silence so thick it felt alive. I crouched there, gripping the oars, my breath ragged, waiting for something, anything, to happen. When I finally fumbled for my spare lantern and lit it, the river was still, the figures gone, the water lapping innocently against the hull. I rowed back in a daze, muscles burning, mind spinning. The dock never looked so welcoming, its weathered planks a lifeline. I haven't gone out since. On quiet nights, when the wind dies down, I catch it, a faint hum, drifting from the river, calling me back. I lock the doors and turn up the radio, but it lingers, a promise or a threat, and I wonder how long I can resist its pull. The river's surface can hide more than reflections. It can cradle things that wait, patient and unseen. Some lights don't lead you home. They lure you into the dark. I'd been itching for a solo sailing trip, a chance to leave work stress behind and just exist on the water. I rented a small sailboat from a marina 30 minutes from the apartment, spending days prepping, studying charts, packing canned soup, a thermos, and a thick sweater for the chilly nights. I launched at dusk, the sky a soft orange, the water calm and welcoming. By 10 p.m., I was well offshore, the shore a distant glow, the only sounds the creak of the rigging and the gentle slap of waves. I dropped anchor, poured tea, and settled in, the stars a blanket overhead. Around midnight, the wind shifted, sharper, tugging at the sails I'd secured. I was adjusting the lines when I heard a voice, faint but clear. Mark. My name, carried on the breeze. I froze, tea splashing my hand, the sting grounding me. I'd been burning the candle at both ends. Maybe my mind was playing tricks. The wind can do that, whistling through the mast, mimicking words. I shook it off and sipped my tea, focusing on the warmth. But it came again. Mark, help. Louder, from the starboard side, strained like someone in trouble. I grabbed a flashlight, its beam jittery as I swept it across the water. Nothing. No boats, no lights, just waves glinting in the dark. The radio was off, stowed below, and I checked it anyway, dead silent. I called out, "Who's there? You need help." My voice felt small, swallowed by the sea. The voice answered, now from the port. "Mark, over here." My heart pounded. It sounded too close, too knowing, like it wasn't just a random call. I'd heard of boaters faking distress to lure people, thieves, or worse, targeting solo sailors. I shouted, "Show yourself, or I'm calling for help." Silence. Then a low chuckle, faint but chilling, cutting through the wind. I scanned the horizon, the anchor line, the deck. Everything was secure, but the voice kept coming, shifting sides, calling my name every few minutes. I fired up the deck light, hoping to spot a dinghy or a kayak, but the sea was empty. My mind raced. Could be a radio signal bouncing off the atmosphere, a rare skip that carries voices miles away. I checked the radio again, flipping through channels, but it was just static. Fear took over. I grabbed a flare gun from the emergency kit, my hands slick with sweat, and sat by the helm, watching the water. The voice grew fainter, blending with the wind, but it didn't stop until dawn, when the sea turned gray and calm. I sailed back, hands unsteady on the tiller, docking with a jolt. I told the marina manager about it, and he shrugged, said it was likely a distant boater's call caught in a weird atmospheric quirk, or kids in a skiff playing games. They checked the area. Nobody reported missing. No other boats logged that night. I wanted to believe it was nothing, but the way it knew my name, the way it followed me, felt too deliberate. I sail now, but only with friends, and I keep the radio on, scanning for any hint of that voice. On windy nights, I sometimes hear a faint murmur, like someone calling from far off, and I close the curtains, telling myself it's just the sea, playing its old tricks. The water can twist your senses, making every sound a threat, every shadow a question. Whether it's a drifting jacket, a tangled net, or a voice on the wind, the night has a way of etching itself into you, leaving you to wonder what was real and what's still out there, waiting.